Okay, as a JRPG enthusiast, I have, of course, played a lot of JRPGs. In playing all those RPGs, I run into some seriously challenging and just ridiculous bosses. So here, I list to you my top 7 hardest JRPG boss battles. Okay, this list isn't in any numbered order, so I guess you can say that this is just my 7 hardest JRPG boss battles. Now, I tried to keep this list fairly recent and spoiler-free as humanly possible, so there are some where I'm just going to talk about the boss and not even going to show it, so it's not too much of a spoiler. Also, for this list, I didn't give myself a handicap like beat the boss without using items or using healing spells or do a solo run or play with one hand tied behind my back or play with the TV off, not that kind of stuff. So yeah, also keep in mind that this is my list and you guys might have found some bosses that I have on here to be particularly easy. I didn't, so they were just tough for me. So anyway, this is Shadow Elite, a JRPG enthusiast, and I'm running off a list of my 7 hardest JRPG boss battles of all time. Mintus, Record of Argus War. Now, playing any RPG, you sometimes run into that one boss that you can't beat no matter what you do, His HP isn't going down, or he attacks and kills your party with one attack. You have to survive a certain number of turns or get his HP down to a certain point. You just know you're never meant to win the battle. That's how I felt when I encountered Mintus in Record of Argus War. Only problem is, with this guy, I had to beat him. And I believed so badly that I just wasn't meant to win the battle that I tried to survive a number of turns, get his HP down to half, kill all his minions first. He was just ridiculous. His attacks took down most of my party's HP. His AoE almost covered the entire field. I was just dumbfounded by how hard this guy was. I must have tried the battle at least 10 times, believing each time that it was impossible to beat him. Record of Argus War is a hard game in general, but this guy's difficulty spike was just insane. Now, after looking around on message boards and whatnot, I got a strategy and I defeated him. But my sheer disbelief when I first encountered him will always remain burned in my memory. True Ending Boss Persona 4. Now, this boss was surprisingly hard for me because of the level I chose to tackle it at. My party was in the early 70s, I believe, and I thought with my level and personas, it would be enough to win. But sadly, after one soul-crushing defeat after the next, I must have tried at least 20 times, I just gave in and grinded some levels, came back, and I beat her pretty easily, I think. But I felt so empty when I beat the boss because I thought grinding was the easy way out. I don't know why, I just did at the time. Now, I probably could have went back to a previous dungeon, got more personas, fused together the ultimate persona, and just debuffed the crap out of her until I beat her with the current level I was at. Prior level I was at. But, I just wanted to beat her with what I had, And, to this day, I still have the save data that I have prior to leveling up. Sometimes I just want to go back one day and just reload the game and just see if I can beat it in the 70s. Because I think when I leveled up and grinded, I went into the 80s. But yeah, I was just really mad. Not mad, just disappointed. Like after I beat the game, I saw the credits roll. I felt so empty inside. I was like, I didn't feel accomplished at all. And I was like, man, this doesn't feel right. And you know what's interesting? Persona 4 is like seriously in my top 5 JRPGs or just RPGs in general of all time. Baal, Disgaea D2. I can sum up how I feel about Baal in a few words. Ain't nobody got time for that shit. I mean, look at this dude. Not only does he look like an overpowered killing machine, he is an overpowered killing machine with a cape. Look at his stats. They are off the freaking charts. I mean, damn. As soon as you enter the fight with somebody, they get hit for 1 billion damage. 1 billion. Your character has to survive 1 billion damage to even get in the fight. And of course his AoE covers the entire map, so you may pretty much bombard your ass from anywhere on the map. Then he has a skill called Killing Pandemic, which he can inflict every negative status alignment to someone every turn. And the first time you attack him, he reduces damage to 0. so you had to attack him at least twice in every turn to get in some damage. So how does one go about beating this motherfucker? Near endless grinding. Literally near endless grinding. That's how. Go into the item board, kill everything in sight, absorb stats, get some legendary weapons, upgrade those legendary weapons about 100 times, reincarnate a character so they start at level 1 and then level them back up to 9,999 again for about, I don't know, 250 times. That's just for one character, and that's going to take you at least 2 days to do. Now, I tried to tackle this guy. I just didn't have it in me. I did over 100 reincarnations for one character, and it just broke my spirit how it wasn't even close. I can't do it. He's too much for me. I hate myself. Fuck you, Ball. Fuck you. Oh, and he can also get stronger if you decide to just put up the enemy level all the way to max and just break the level caps or stat caps, and he just gets even stronger. Who has time for this? Who literally has time to sit down and try to grind this much or discover a strategy in order to beat this guy? I don't know, but not me, okay? Not me. If anybody has a strategy that can easily beat this guy, please message me. Now, Tales games have always been sort of easy for me until Tales of Graces came along and just pit slapped me in the face. Now, I got through most of the bosses without much frustration, but then Kurt came along with his bullshit. I swear, 1 or 2 hits and you were just dead. And Tales games for the most part had some pretty good AI companions, but there's seriously always that one healer that you just set to do nothing but heal, back out, you know, he has less than 70 TP, just back off and don't do anything or whatever, and just have them spam that healing spell. But no, this freaking healer just runs up to the boss sometimes, decides to throw him a hit and just dies in general, and then you have to freaking get a life battle in there and waste a freaking life battle to get them back alive. And then your other companions, they pretty much stand no chance because they don't know how to guard for the most part, and they pretty much just get killed. And Kurt just killed everything in sight. If you took your hands off the controller for literally 1 second, he would just come up to you and just kill you. I mean, it just baffled my mind. I mean, I had to try this boss at least 20 different times until I got it right. But eventually I did. You know, I did beat him. But there is actually another boss in Tales of Graces that I actually had even more trouble with. But that one's too much big of a spoiler, so I'm not even going to mention that one. But Kurt is pretty much the next best thing and just as bad. So, yeah. Tales of Graces just had a difficulty problem in general. It had problems with difficulty spikes, but Kurt just really got underneath my skin. Every boss in the Guided Fate Paradox. Okay, once again, Guided Fate Paradox is a game that's just hard in general. But this game in particular, every boss just threw me for a loop. I mean, in this game, each chapter has a dungeon, and in those dungeons you have 10 floors you have to complete, the 10th floor being the boss battle. So you have to continue consecutively through each floor without saving. Now you could suspend your save if you want to, but after you reload it, you know, the suspended data is deleted. So every floor you have to continue through consecutively, and if you die once, you lose half your money, all your equipment is gone, and all the items you worked hard for to get, you know, all those luck sack items you got, you know, to get those items to randomly come up. You got that good, you know, sword or good armor that you got. You lose all that good stuff. So it sucks. The penalty for dying in that game just really sucks. Now there's a method that you can use to manipulate your suspend save, but I didn't figure that out until well after I beat the game. But anyway, that factor right there just made each boss battle just nerve-wracking, knowing that if I lose all the equipment I found, all the good items I found, and half my money, and pretty much just wasted about maybe half hour to 45 minutes. Okay, and these bosses were like puzzles. You had to figure out what was the best way to kill them, or, you know, some of them you just had to overpower, but some of them were just overpowered in general. Okay, there's this one guy in the game that I just like got up, screamed so loud that I beat, and I was just, you know, just so relieved. I never actually had that kind of reaction after I beat a boss. And then there was just one particular boss battle that I just looked at and just like, you know, just the life. You could probably see the life in my eyes just fade away, because I just thought that this is just ridiculous. This is insane. This is stupid. I can't freaking do this anymore. And I think Guided Fate Paradox is pretty much a hardcore game. But just every boss, especially the last boss. The last boss in this game was just unrelentlessly hard. I mean, seriously, if my life depended on it, I'm pretty sure I can't go back and beat that boss again. There's no way I could. I mean, I would probably have to try at least 10 times. I beat that boss on pure luck, and I look at it as a victory because I'm not going back to do it again just to prove that I can do it based off of skill and based off of, you know, good judgment. No, it was completely luck that he didn't attack me. So yeah, Guy Fate Paradox, every single boss was just one nightmare after another for the most part. Except for the first boss. The first boss was, you know, of course it was easy. But yeah, Guy Fate Paradox, why I did find the game hard and just, you know, depressing because of how hard it was. I did like the game. I found it very challenging, I guess. It was challenging, it was hard, but it was fair. I don't know if this makes sense, if any of that makes sense, but, you know, it was definitely fair. And I really just hope they make another game in the series, which I think another game was announced just recently. So, yeah, looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to torturing myself again. Sephiroth, Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII is without a doubt my #1 RPG, JRPG of all time. So I suppose it's really no surprise that a boss from that game makes this list. It's no other than Sephiroth, and I can't really say it's a spoiler because if you play JRPGs or just RPGs in general, you know about Final Fantasy VII, and of course you should know Sephiroth. If you don't know that by now, well then that's too bad. Anyway, I don't remember too much about this battle because this came at a time when I first started playing RPGs, so I was really young. But I do remember I threw down my controller in frustration. It's the first controller I broke, just in pure frustration. And I also remember back in 2010 when I hooked up my PS1 to be all nostalgic, and I still had save data, and I still had a save data from before the final battle, and my setup was just plain terrible. I mean, terrible. I mean, I had an all materia. If you know anything about Final Fantasy VII, I had an all materia set in the slot by itself. Nothing attached to it, just set in the slot by itself. That's just horrible from what I can remember. I'm pretty sure all by itself was just bad. But again, I don't remember too much. This was just the first RPG boss battle that I really had a hard time with, and I broke my controller. But as a whole, Final Fantasy VII, of course, is an awesome game. Seymour Flux, Final Fantasy X. Now, I had some problems with Final Fantasy X bosses, but nothing quite like Seymour in the second battle. I remember first fighting this boss like, oh, he's gonna be easy, oh, I'm gonna wipe the floor with this guy. And then after one death after the next, I was just like, what the hell is going on? Why can't I beat this guy? And the battle was even more tough for me because on the spirit grid for Titus, or Titus, or whatever you want to call it, I was supposed to be going on his set spirit grid to get skills best suited for his character. But instead, I thought there was so much freedom in this spirit grid, I decided to completely go a different way on his spirit grid. And I had him go into Lulu's grid, who has a lot of black magic. So I had him learn some black magic spells. And of course, that's just useless on him because he has a low magic attack stat. So all the wasted points that I should have been using to go on his grid, on his grid and get his skills, I didn't have, and I needed haste to make the battle so I can beat the guy or make the battle easier. So I didn't have those skills. So I go back to a previous save file, maybe about 3 hours or 4 hours back from the boss, and I level up a bit and I got haste, and guess what? The boss was still freaking hard. I mean, you know a boss battle is tough when even a strategy guy says it involves a little bit of luck to win. So yeah, Seymour Flux was a little bit hard because that came at a time where I was first getting started, like getting into liking RPGs. So of course I should have known not to go outside the spirit grid yet until end of the game or something. So yeah, that's what made the boss especially frustrating. So yeah, guys, that was it. Those are my 7 hardest JRPG boss battles. List off in the comments what bosses you guys had some trouble with. I'm sure you guys got some awesome and crazy stories, so I want to hear all about it in the comments section. And that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go try to defeat Baal now, but I'm pretty sure I'm not, and I'm gonna go cry in the corner somewhere. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.